Alright, this is the Defenders 40 and 3. This is the second issue of that Kevin Giffen run. It's the last one, written by Gerry Conway, creator of The Punisher. That is his full name. It's not the final part of the story arc though. This one, I'm going to talk about the Gerry Conway scandal. I'm going to slip it in with the review because I've kind of got to talk about it. This cover here, it's actually by Jack Quimby. We have got Spare Parts Man there, he's the baddie, and he's going to explode. And the Defenders, they're going to be caught in the explosion. We've got Batman, the Hulk, Luke Cage, and Comic Girl Ava down there. I nearly missed her at first, she's quite tucked away. And there's Doctor Strange, he's like in a little square, it's like he's trapped in a box and he's banging away on the window. He's like, let me out, that is probably what he is saying. We have got the text here, it says, "Hoo boy, Doctor Strange disappears, Spare Parts Man explodes, Eggman goes wild. Come on, Pilgrim, you know she loves you." That's the Pixies, that. The baddies, they are watching the heroes on a view screen here. And Eggman, he's like the boss. He wants the Star of Casper, which is a magic ruby. And he thought that Doctor Strange had it. So he sent Spare Parts Man to fight the Defenders. And he obviously got beat because he is a rubbish villain. And now Eggman, he's going to make him explode like an atomic bomb. And as I said last issue, Luke Cage, he was a good character before Michael Bryan Benson reinvented him as an uncool urban dad. He does two really cool things on this page. Firstly, this random bloke comes out and he's like, "Me car, he's crushing me car." And Luke Cage just grabs him and throws him away. And he says, "Man, these dumb butts sure get me down." And then, only 2 panels later, he is holding the Hulk back. And everybody knows that the Hulk, he is like the strongest one there is. And Luke Cage is holding him back. And he's thinking, "Mother, not even my super dense bod can stop him. He is pushing so hard. I am digging a groove, just trying to hold him still." And then Batman, who is still not wearing a shirt, he has come up with a plan to stop Spare Parts Man from exploding and killing everyone. He gets the Hulk to grab him in his arms and just jump away so that he doesn't explode in a public area, in a big built-up place. So they throw him into the river where he can explode and not hurt anyone. And Eggman is furious. He even calls the Hulk a mongoloid. And you cannot say that anymore. Ricky Gervais ruined that word for all of us. So Eggman, now he sends Solar Man and Rhino Man after the Defenders. And out of nowhere, Russia Girl just shows up. She is a member of the team. She weren't in the last issue because, well, Gerry Conway, he wanted rid of her. And, well, we'll talk about that in a bit. Solar Man and Rhino Man, they going to attack Doctor Strange. But what happens is they are suddenly blown away by this fella. He's called the Red Bargee and he has something to do with the Star of Casper. And I'd love to tell you what, but unfortunately, as I have said, this story takes a U-turn after this issue. I think the idea was that he was meant to be like the protector of the Star of Casper. I mean, he even says that later on. Here he goes, "Already I have disposed of one mortal who presumed to approach the sacred star, he whom men call Doctor Strange. He suffered, as you shall suffer, So speaks your executioner. So speaks the Red Bargee. Make note of what he says about Doctor Strange there, because we will come back to that. So Red Bargee, he kicks the shit out of the baddies, and he has got a lot of powers. He's really powerful apparently. And when he's defeated them, he gans, and so will all fair who seek the sacred star. For I am the star's strength, as I am its protector. I am the Red Bargee. We already know your name, mate. You said it on the last page. Eggman, he is livid because all his little slaves have been beaten, and it's just him now. And back at the Defender's base, which is just Doctor Strange's house, there is another member of the team who was just shunted away. Rachel McAdams. She weren't in the last issue, but here she is, and they're doing some crazy science experiment. They're doing it on Russia Girl and Spare Parts Man. And I like this little art here. It's good. And there is Comic Girl Ava's golden costume. She started wearing that in issue 40. And Gerry Conway, he just got rid of it. And all the letters here are saying how much they like this golden costume. Eggman, he shows up at the Defender's base and he tries to provoke the Hulk into going on a rampage. Meanwhile, at the bottom, we are getting Spare Parts Man's origin. An admirer of Iron Man. He tried to imitate the Golden Avenger's armour, but radiation from the armour twisted his mind and drove him insane. And there's Comic Girl Ava, and she starts to fight Eggman, and he has got these stupid little egg gadget things that do stupid little things, and he hoys one at Comic Girl Ava, and it electrocutes her. And we've got more of Spare Parts Man's origin down there. That is when he fought the Excellent Men. And now finally, I guess I'll talk about Gerry Conway. Because here, Luke Cage is talking about wanting to leave the team. And honestly, I didn't want to talk about it really, because I just want to talk about the issues. But it does heavily lean into what he was doing on this book. And stuff like him writing Luke Cage out and stuff like that. Gerry Conway, he was a writer at Marvel in the 70s. And in very late 1975, early 1976, he became editor-in-chief. But it was for a very short period. It is a scandalous story, and it's a shame that people aren't dwelling on it when he pipes up nowadays and says that all police are evil bastards or something. Because when he took over as Marvel's editor-in-chief, he just abused his position. He took all of Marvel's big books and the ones that he wanted to write, and he just fired all the current writers and took them out himself. He was writing Avengers, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, the Hulk, loads of them, and this is where it's relevant, the Defenders. Stephen Goebbels, he was in the middle of his run and people were enjoying it. He really helped define the team as something a bit different. Before him, it was just kind of a generic superhero team. Basically, just a shit Avengers. But Gerry Conway, he wanted to write it, so he booted Stephen Goebbels off the book and he just took the book for himself. And he obviously wanted to undo a lot of stuff. He wanted rid of over half the characters and so on. And he wanted to make it less silly and just do a generic superhero team again. He only lasts 2 issues. This is his last one because he was actually ousted as editor-in-chief. That was how bad and unethical and selfish he was. He was removed from the position. Then he ran off to DC and, in my opinion, blatantly did a variety of other people's stories and ideas that he was privy to as editor-in-chief of Marvel. His time as editor-in-chief was awful. It was very indulgent and selfish. Books were late, and the books that he was writing, he was also editing them, and they were full of errors. Like, actually, this one, I've just skipped over some of them. Some typos, a lot of characters being called the wrong names. Like in Avengers, he would always get the two Anks confused. And this story, I've said a few times, it does a complete 180. And that is the result of Gerry Conway being removed 2 issues into the run. And because he was editing himself, he never actually ran any of his ideas past other people. Even Kevin Giffen, the artist. He didn't know what he was intending. Nobody knew what he was intending. So when Anthony Davis, and I think originally another co-writer, when they come on to clear it up, they just have to pull something out of their arses. Anyway, back to the comic. When the Hulk fought Spare Parts Man there, and Luke Cage he turns around, and Eggman, he has already beat Batman, and again, Luke Cage he was a cool character. He's just standing up to Eggman here. And Captain Marvel's there, the real one, Marvel. He's selling us cupcakes. So Luke Cage and Eggman, I am gonna hurt you bad. No, I have other weapons. Yeah, and they are about as useful as the first one. Believe it, chubby, you are gone. Other than the fat shaming, that was better than anything that Luke Cage has done in the last decade. Then Spare Parts Man, he is angry about Eggman using them, and he just atomizes himself and Eggman. Not sure how they eventually undo him being atomized, because he appears again in Roy Sturman's Avengers in a few years. And this is a bit of a sudden end, and it was at least good to see Luke Cage beat him, but this is all kind of silly, because it's counter to Gerry Conway's purpose of wanting to write Luke Cage out. You've shown him being the most useful member here. Fortunately, we do get to have Luke Cage around for a little bit more. But obviously, Gerry Conway, he set it up here that Luke Cage wanted to leave. So they do have to ultimately commit to that idea. This 2-issue storyline, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with having a standard superhero fair type of story where the heroes, they just fight the villains. I am glad Gerry Conway didn't last longer, because he apparently just wanted the book to be this. But as a one-off, it is good. It's also a good start to a bigger run, I suppose. The Anthony Davis and Kevin Giffen run. I rate this one 7 thumbs up.